all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. Cultural Enrichment, Empathy or Weakness, written by Conrad Riker, available now, links in description. Frithin, here's a thinking process. Analyze user input, book title, Meinesic, Cultural Enrichment, Empathy or Weakness. Tone style, zealously androcentric, systematically unpacking Western patriarchal traditions, tracing etymologies, exposing dogmas, fallacies, epistemology, analyzing male coding rightism as natural law genesis logic. Denouncing leftism as female-coded BPD, NPC zombie conspiracy, leveraging CTMU, Manichaeism, Judeo-Christian Western canon, high rhetorical intensity 100-X Tate Weiler at Kister, logician, rhetorician, mansphere messiah style. Grammar, logic, rhetoric focus, syllogisms, definitions, cost ledgers, fruit tests. Spiritual, civilizational restoration, additional bits, red-pilled counter-reformation, unholy trinity, postmodernism plus critical theory plus feminism, spiritual war on common sense, developmental arrest, Akul, Keegan, Kohlberg integration, male praxis, counterspells, maxims, task write 1 viral Substack title, and subtitles separated by exactly 1 colon in the whole output. Do not use a colon inside the title or subtitle. Sell the integral theory angle, the developmental arrest, and the grow-up, wake-up remedy for men. Output only title and subtitle. Write, I once watched a grown man, a competent engineer, a builder of systems, come apart because a woman in a DEI workshop called his thinking rigid. She said it with a smirk, the way a sister tests a brother, and instead of firing back or laughing, he flushed, stammered, and demanded a formal apology through HR. He had forgotten or never learned the ancient art of taking a hit and keeping his feet. That reaction is not politics, it is developmental arrest. Here is a man whose ego is mortgaged to institutional approval, who cannot distinguish a social jab from an assault on his being, who has internalized the therapeutic state fiction that feeling wounded is being wronged. The same ideology that invented psychological safety as a protocol has produced men who genuinely cannot tolerate the friction that forges steel. But mockery is not the answer. Contempt for the broken is itself a symptom of the same disease, the refusal to see a man's collapse as a call upward. The roiling chaos of modern institutional life, all that churning noise and turbulence, is not merely something to endure or ridicule. It is a furnace. Every DEI ritual, every HR inquisition, every playground of ideological possession is also a curriculum, if you have the spine to read it correctly. The error. Playfully insulting him, does he get offended? The situation. In a corporate DEI workshop, a male engineer is playfully teased by a female facilitator for his rigid, binary thinking regarding a project timeline. Instead of engaging with the humor or correcting the factual inaccuracy, he experiences a physiological stress response, flushing, stammering, interprets the tease as a systemic erasure of his competence, and demands a formal apology mediated by HR, citing psychological safety protocols. He fails to distinguish between playful social calibration and genuine hostility, revealing an arrested need for external validation to sustain his self-worth. Core contradiction. It demands free expression and critical thinking while enforcing a rigid orthodoxy where any deviation from the group's emotional consensus is punished as oppression, effectively replacing truth with comfort. Case vignettes. The fluorescent panels hummed their corporate vespers over conference room 4B26. Bodies rearranged themselves into a semicircle of ergonomic chairs. The facilitator, Priya Sundaram, a woman in her late 30s with a McGill lanyard and a scarves game that suggested she'd once read a textbook about confidence, stood at the front beside a flip chart that read, "In violet marker, P.S. Wyshological Safety, a shared practice." Marcus Webb, 31, senior reliability engineer at Caldon Technologies, had chosen a seat near the exit. Not because he planned to leave, he'd never left anything early in his life, which was part of the problem, but because proximity to a door made the room feel slightly less like the inside of a mouth. He held his mandatory reflection worksheet at arm's length, as though it might transmit something. Priya was walking them through an exercise she called comfort stretch panic. Draw your comfort zone, then your stretch zone, then the panic zone, then place a sticker where you were today. Marcus had drawn 3 concentric circles with the mechanical precision of someone who understood load-bearing tolerances. He'd placed his sticker dead center of the comfort zone. He felt, paradoxically, that this was an act of courage. "Marcus," Priya said, scanning the room with the practiced warmth of a person who'd done 200 of these workshops, "you put your sticker right in the middle. That's interesting. A lot of engineers do." A few laughs, not cruel. The kind of laugh a room makes when someone says something everyone recognizes. "I like to be accurate," Marcus said. His voice was level. He'd rehearsed level. "Of course you do. But I wonder, is that accuracy, or is that what we call binary rigidity?" She made air quotes, smiled, and turned to the room. "This is a great teaching moment." "Marcus, I'm not picking on you, I'm inviting you, but some of us, especially those of us socialized in heavily technical environments, tend to collapse ambiguity into binaries. Comfortable or not, right or wrong, accurate or inaccurate, and that can be a real barrier to inclusive collaboration." She said inclusive collaboration the way a priest says "peace be with you," a formula that insulated the speaker from examination. Marcus's face did something he did not authorize. A red tide began at his collar and climbed. He felt it climb. He was aware of it climbing. This meta-awareness made it worse. His hands, which had been steady through a root cause failure analysis involving a leaking coolant pump at 3 a.m. 2 weeks prior, now performed a small involuntary adjustment to his worksheet that he would replay for the next 72 hours. "I don't think that's accurate," he said. But the sentence came out differently than it had in his rehearsal, which had occurred in the shower that morning. It came out half-swallowed with a click at the end, like a man trying to clear his windpipe. Priya tilted her head. A head tilt, Marcus would later explain to his brother over the phone, that suggested concern for a patient. "I appreciate that pushback, and I want to sit with it. But I'd also gently invite you to notice your reaction to being seen, to a playful challenge, is itself data. What's coming up for you right now?" "I don't, that's not a challenge." He heard himself say the word challenge with the cadence Priya used for it, as though he'd been colonized by her grammar. "I'm just saying, I drew 3 circles because the instructions said, draw 3 circles. There's nothing binary about following instructions." A woman 2 seats over, Jennifer, from operations, who'd once emailed him about a late requisition and received a 6-paragraph reply with a Gantt chart, turned slightly in her chair, not toward him exactly, toward the direction of social wind. The room had gone very quiet, not the quiet of thought, the quiet of a courtroom after a witness says the wrong thing with too much sincerity. "It sounds like this is landing somewhere important for you," Priya said. Landing? As though words were aircraft and Marcus's psyche was a runway with structural deficiencies. The word entices, which had no business appearing in Marcus's mind, flickered briefly, as though his subconscious was trying to tell him something about what he actually wanted from this interaction and could not name. It vanished. He gripped his pen. "I want to flag something," Marcus said, and he heard the word flag leave his mouth and understood, somewhere below the level of language, that he was defecting to enemy territory, adopting their argot, their procedural choreography, because he had no other tools. "I want a flag that's singling someone out in front of the group and speculating about their psychological state, in a workshop about psychological safety, is itself a violation of the norms you established on slide 3. Specifically, assume good intent and no blame, no shame," he said, slide 3, with the satisfaction of a man presenting a building permit to an arsonist. Priya smiled. "I hear you, and I validate that feedback. At the same time, I want to hold both truths. Your experience is real, and the pattern of defaulting to procedural argument when emotional content arises is itself a behavior worth examining. That's not a diagnosis. It's an invitation." Both truths Marcus understood with the clarity of a man watching a magician palm a card, that both truths meant that his truth was the provisional one and her truth was the load-bearing wall. Her truth had institutional backing. His truth had a Gantt chart. Integral diagnosis. The workshop will not save you. The theory under examination. A man sits in a room. A woman with a marker and a mandate asks him to draw his feelings as concentric circles. He is an engineer. He draws circles. She calls this binary rigidity. He reddens. 72 hours later, he files an HR report. An automated system assigns him a case number. He sleeps poorly. What just happened? The theory under examination is not Priya Sundaram's flip chart exercise, though that deserves its own autopsy. The theory is the entire architecture of emotional life that made Marcus Webb's reaction possible. The architecture that tells a grown man his discomfort is an institutional event, that a woman's mild tease is a wound requiring adjudication, and that his self-worth is a tender organ to be shielded by protocol rather than forged by friction. The theory is this: psychological safety, as currently deployed in corporate and educational environments, is not what it claims to be. It claims to be a practice of mutual respect that enables honest communication. In application, it is a liturgical system that replaces the old religious vocabulary of sin, repentance, and redemption with a new one: harm, safety, processing, and accountability, but without the old religion's insistence that you eventually grow up and stop being the center of the universe. The etymology tells the story before the story does. Safety comes from the Latin salvus, whole, uninjured, intact. It shares a root with salvation. The workshop is not secular. It is a church service where no one is saved because no one is allowed to name the actual disease: the atrophy of the male soul under conditions of institutional mothering. Psychological, from psyche, the soul, safety, wholeness. The phrase literally means soul wholeness, and a corporate facilitator with a sociology degree and a marker is now your priest. Marcus did not need a workshop. He needed a father, or more precisely, he needed the internalized voice of a father, the one that says, "Son, she called you rigid. So what are you? If yes, fix it. If no, forget it. Either way, stop bleeding from a paper cut in front of strangers." The absence of that voice is the theory under examination, the developmental arrest. Consider what actually occurred in conference room 4B. A woman made a mild, teasing remark, the kind of remark that men have absorbed from coaches, drill sergeants, older brothers, and bosses since language was invented. Binary rigidity, air quotes, a smile. A turn to the room. The appropriate responses fall along a spectrum a competent adult male should have available. Return the tease with better material. Guilty. My comfort zone is a circle because circles are structurally efficient. Silence. Bored indifference. A wry acknowledgement. Even genuine engagement. What would non-binary thinking look like for a coolant pump failure analysis? Marcus did none of these. He experienced a physiological stress response, interpreted the tease as systemic erasure, and escalated to institutional complaint. He confused a social needle with a constitutional wound. This is developmental arrest, plainly stated, not a diagnosis. A description of a man whose emotional infrastructure was never completed, whose psychological scaffolding got stuck at a stage where the group's emotional climate is his identity. where a stranger's mild disapproval registers as existential threat, and where the only remedy he can imagine is summoning a higher authority to make the bad feelings stop. He is not fragile because he is weak. He is fragile because he was never broken properly, never subjected to the controlled stressors that build psychological callus. He is a man whose comfort zone was never voluntarily stretched. So when life stretched it involuntarily, he tore. The facilitator is also arrested, but her arrest is better camouflaged. She has converted her need for social control into a professional vocabulary. Her gentle invitations and head tilts are the adult version of a child saying, "I'm telling," dressed in the language of care, powered by the machinery of HR. Two arrested people in a room. One holds the marker. The other holds a grievance. Neither holds himself. The core contradiction. Here is the contradiction, stated as cleanly as possible. The ideology of psychological safety demands free expression while making emotional comfort the precondition for it. Syllogism. Premise 1. Psychological safety requires that all participants feel comfortable enough to speak honestly. Premise 2. Honest speech will inevitably make someone uncomfortable. Premise 3. Discomfort is now classified as psychological unsafety. Conclusion. Therefore, honest speech is the enemy of psychological safety. This is not a paradox. It is a trap. The system creates the conditions for its own enforcement. You must speak honestly, but only if no one feels bad, which means you can never speak honestly. Which means the only speech permitted is speech that affirms the system's premise that comfort is the highest good. Marcus fell into this trap twice. First, when he tried to push back, "I don't think that's accurate," and was reabsorbed into the ritual, "I appreciate that pushback." Second, when he filed the HR complaint using the system's own logic against one of its priests. The system can handle this. It wants this. Every internal complaint proves the system is working. What it cannot handle is a man who walks out of the room, forgets the workshop by lunchtime, and does his job with quiet excellence. The deeper contradiction, a culture that pathologizes male stoicism also pathologizes male emotional expression when that expression is anger, disagreement, or withdrawal. The only permitted male emotion is compliance performed as growth. Cry in the workshop. Share your vulnerability. Use the approved vocabulary. Contain your rebellion into a worksheet. The system does not want Marcus whole. It wants Marcus dependent on the workshop, on the facilitator, on the respectful workplace advisor, on the case number, on the process. Every man who resolves his own conflicts is a man who does not need the institution. Every man who files a complaint is a repeat customer. Maxim, a culture that medicalizes resilience does not want you healed. It wants you prescribed. The integral map. The arrest is not one-dimensional. It cascades across every developmental line. Here is where Marcus and the culture that produced him got stuck and where the exit lies. Cognitive development Piaget. Marcus operates in concrete binary thinking, accurate or inaccurate, comfort or panic, right or wrong. He cannot hold the facilitator's remark as simultaneously inaccurate, revealing, manipulative, playful, and irrelevant. The remedy is formal operational thinking and beyond. The capacity to hold multiple frames, steelman the opponent, and coordinate abstractions without dissolving into relativism. A man trained in dialectic does not panic when someone mischaracterizes him. He dissects the mischaracterization, or he ignores it. Both require the ability to see the claim from above, not from inside it. Moral development, Kohlberg. Marcus is at the conventional stage. Right and wrong are determined by institutional consensus. If HR says a thing is harmful, it is harmful. If the facilitator says his thinking is rigid, the group's nod confirms it. He has no internal moral gyroscope. The climb to post-conventional reasoning requires what the old philosophers called synderesis, the habit of first principles, the capacity to say this is just or this is unjust regardless of who approves. A man at this stage does not ask whether his reaction is valid according to the workbook. He asks whether it is worthy of a man with his name. Ego development, Kegan Lovinger. Marcus has a socialized mind. His self is constructed from external definitions. When those definitions are challenged, The self wobbles. The self-authoring mind does not ask, what does the group permit me to feel? It asks, what do I believe, and does this situation warrant my energy? The self-transforming mind goes further. It can enter the workshop, understand its mechanics, engage or disengage strategically, and leave without a scratch, because the workshop is data, not identity. Psychosocial development, Erikson. Marcus is stuck between industry and intimacy. He performs competence but cannot risk genuine relational vulnerability. He can manage a coolant pump at 3 a.m. but cannot manage a woman's smile in a conference room. The climb requires what Erikson called generativity, investment in something larger than one's own status. A father does not file an HR complaint over a tease. He is too busy. His identity is anchored in his children, his craft, his household, his God. A workshop is weather. Psychosexual structure, Freud. Marcus's id, his aggression, his masculine assertion is repressed and displaced. It cannot express directly, as that's nonsense because directness has been pathologized. So it erupts sideways, physiological flushing, worksheet fidgeting, and eventually a formal complaint that simulates assertiveness while actually enacting victimhood. The remedy is sublimation. Channel the aggression into disciplined work, physical training, competitive sport. A man who has exhausted himself under a barbell or in a boxing ring does not have the surplus energy to process a scarf joke for 72 hours. Shadow Jung Marcus projects his own unacknowledged fragility onto Priya. She becomes the wicked woman, the feminist agent, the symbol of everything wrong with the world. Some of that may be accurate. But the intensity of his reaction tells a deeper story. He is not just reacting to her. He is reacting to the part of himself that agrees with her, the part that wonders if he is rigid, if he is stuck, if he is hiding behind technical precision because human complexity terrifies him. Until he owns that shadow, every facilitator will be his nemesis, and every workshop will be a crucifixion. Inferiority and compensation, Adler. Marcus feels inferior not in his technical domain, where he is competent, but in the social-emotional domain, where he is a beginner masquerading as an expert. Rather than acknowledge the deficit and build skill, he compensates by claiming moral injury. I am not lacking, I'm wronged. The remedy is honest self-assessment and what Adler called social interest, contribution to others through genuine competence, not performed virtue. A man who serves his community through tangible skill does not need a workshop to validate his existence. Spiral dynamics, Graves. Marcus is trapped between orange, achievement, status, proof of competence, and green, consensus, sensitivity, inclusion. The workshop is a green memorial ritual. His engineering precision is orange. His HR complaint is a green move, using the system's language of harm to win a status game. Neither stage is sufficient. Second-tier thinking, yellow turquoise, recognizes that the workshop is a system with incentives, that the facilitator is an actor with interests, that the vocabulary is a tool of governance, and that the appropriate response is neither compliance nor counter-complaint, but strategic disengagement and parallel institution building. Needs hierarchy, Maslow. Marcus is stuck on esteem needs, the need for respect and validation from others. He cannot move towards self-actualization because his energy is consumed by the question, what do they think of me? A self-actualizing man is not indifferent to others' opinions. He is simply oriented toward a target that makes most social opinions irrelevant. He is building something. The workshop is a fly on the wall of the cathedral. Faith development, Fowler. Marcus has a synthetic conventional belief system. His worldview is borrowed from the institutional matrix, corporate values, HR policies, Netflix narratives. When that system contradicts his experience, he has no independent theological or philosophical ground to stand on. The climb toward individuative reflective faith means writing your own creed, not inventing reality, but taking ownership of what you believe about truth, human nature, purpose, and the good. A man with a creed can sit through a workshop the way an adult sits through a child's magic show. Amused, patient, undeceived. Hierarchical complexity, Commons. Marcus cannot coordinate multiple systems simultaneously. He sees the workshop as an interpersonal event, Priya versus Marcus. A more complex mind sees it as a systemic event, a bureaucratic apparatus enforcing ideological conformity through ritualized emotional exposure. Staffed by middle-class professionals whose livelihoods depend on manufacturing demand for their services, embedded in a legal historical framework of employment law, corporate liability, and cultural revolution. Seeing the system does not require paranoia, it requires competence in abstraction. Structures of consciousness. Gebser. Marcus is trapped in the mental rational structure's binary mode, this or that, safe or unsafe, right or wrong. The integral structure recognizes that reality is perspectival, layered, and temporally dynamic. A tease is a tease, a power move, a teaching moment, a failure of the facilitator's own stated principles, and an irrelevance all at once. The integral mind does not collapse the plurality, it holds it. And then it acts clearly from the most adequate frame available. Practice ladder for men. The ladder of recovery, 12 rungs from sleep to sovereignty. Rung 1, name the trigger, not the world. Today, write down the last 3 things that made you angry. Next to each, write what story you told yourself about what it meant. Cross out the story, keep the sensation. You have just practiced Freudian ego over ID regulation, Stoic epocha, and the trivium's grammatical step. Define what actually happened before narrating what it means. Rung 2 separate, play from combat. Today, recall a moment a woman, a boss, or a colleague teased or challenged you. Ask, was this an attack on my being or friction against my persona? If your worth survived the moment physically, the threat was to the mask, not the man. This is Jung's persona, shadow distinction in kitchen table practice. The persona bruises, the self endures. Rung 3 build 1 room of objective competence. Today, spend 45 minutes on a craft where the bar is impersonal, lifting, coding, carpentry, sparring, a language. In that room, your feelings do not negotiate with gravity or syntax. This is Wilber's upper right quadrant, behavioral, measurable, undeniable. Piaget's concrete operations ground you in results that do not care about your mood. Rung 4, write your creed on 1 page. Today, write 5 lines you believe are true about being a man, a father, a citizen, and a son, regardless of who approves. Sign it, date it. This is Kegan's self-authoring mind booting up. You have just refused to let the socialized mind rent space in your skull for free. Rung 5 sit with the sting without sending the message. Today, when the impulse to correct, defend, or report hits, wait 24 hours. If the urge survives a full day, act. If it evaporates, it was ego, not duty. Kohlberg stage 5, principle over applause. Adler would call this the courage to be imperfect in public. Rung 6, test every slogan at the kitchen table. Today, take 1 fashionable phrase, safe space, emotional labor, toxic masculinity, and translate it into plain English a working father in 1955 would understand. If it sounds like Newspeak, name what it hides. This is Gebser's mental structure clarity, rejecting integral structure fog. The trivium's logic step, does it cohere? Rung 7, DO1, hard thing you cannot fade. Today, fast for 18 hours, take a cold shower, walk 6 miles in silence. The body cannot virtue signal to itself. Maslow's deficiency needs trap dissolves when you voluntarily meet adversity and find it survivable. Erickson's industry stage reawakens. I can do hard things and remain standing. Rung 8, steelman, the person you dislike most. Today, write the strongest possible version of your ideological opponent's argument stronger than they would make themselves. Then find its single weakest joint. You have just exercised Commons's hierarchical complexity, holding and coordinating multiple abstractions. Most men cannot do this. Their loss is your edge. Rung 9, spend 1 hour with no screen and no noise. Today, sit, walk, or pray for 60 minutes without consuming content. The anxiety that surfaces is the socialized mind panicking without its feed. Stay until it quiets. Fowler's individuative reflective faith begins where external script ends and interior conviction must stand alone. Rung 10, correct 1, man in private, encourage 1 in public. Today, find a brother doing something right. Say so where others can hear. Find a brother slipping. Tell him alone plainly without euphemism or ceremony. This is spiral dynamics integral tier reciprocity, Erickson's generativity, and the Aristotelian virtue of philia, civic friendship between men who sharpen one another. Rung 11, take one infatuatory of your shadow. Today, name the trait you despise most in others. Now find 3 instances in the past month where you expressed it mildly, indirectly, but recognizably. Own them aloud to one trusted person. Jung said, "What we do not bring to consciousness returns as fate." You are rewriting the script. Rung 12, do 1. Duty no one will see and no one will thank you for. Today, fix something broken. Pay a bill early, carry someone's burden quietly, guard a threshold, mentor a boy who will forget your name. Maslow's self-transcendence, Keegan's self-transforming mind. Fowler's conjunctive faith, the trivium's rhetoric made flesh, a life that speaks without needing a microphone. Maxim, the boy reacts, the man responds. The father builds, the patriarch transmits. Climb one rung, then climb again. Compact stage map, Wilbur A. Kiel, stuck in subjective feelings and behavioral compliance, neglecting systemic structures, upward, engage in objective work and integrate all 4 quadrants. Piaget, stuck in concrete binary thinking, unable to hold multiple perspectives, upward, train in formal logic and dialectics, steelman opponents. Kohlberg, stuck in conventional moral reasoning tied to group approval. Upward, cultivate a principled conscience through voluntary hardship. Keegan, stuck in a socialized mind that dissolves when the group narrative is challenged. Upward, develop a personal creed and practice daily silence. Erickson, stuck at industry or intimacy, with performance, anxiety, and fear of vulnerability. Upward, commit to long-term generative roles like fatherhood or mentorship. Freud, stuck in id-driven reactivity masked by superegoic guilt. Upward, sublimate aggression through disciplined work and delayed gratification. Jung, stuck projecting fragility onto women and institutions to avoid owning weakness. Upward, do daily shadow work by journaling disproportionate anger. Adler, stuck in inferiority compensated by victimhood status. Upward, build genuine social interest through service and tangible contribution. Luwinger, Cook-Grutter, stuck in a conformist ego defined by group norms. Upward, practice cognitive flexibility and exposed to diverse viewpoints. Grave spiral dynamics, stuck in the pluralistic green stage that denies hierarchy while enforcing orthodoxy. Upward, develop second-tier thinking that integrates multiple value systems. Maslow, stuck on esteem and belonging needs, leading to performative virtue signaling. Upward, pursue self-actualization through creative, meaningful work and service. Fowler, stuck in synthetic conventional or sterile doubt. Upward, move toward conjunctive faith that holds paradox and mystery. Comments, stuck at low hierarchical complexity and coordinating abstractions. Upward, engage in complex problem solving and study systems theory. Gebser, stuck in mythic structure with rigid binaries. Upward, cultivate integral awareness by observing thoughts as events, not truths. Trivium, stuck knowing the words but lacking logic and rhetoric to connect them. Upward, master grammar, logic, and rhetoric to define, reason, and persuade with truth. I have given you the diagnosis, the anatomy, the full post-mortem of a civilization that lost its nerve. Now I give you the prescription, and it is not a hashtag, a ballot initiative, or a 5-point policy paper. It is a ladder, 4 rungs. You climb it alone, in the dark, before dawn, when no one is watching and no one will give you credit. That is precisely why it works. Grow up. Put away the toys of perpetual adolescence, the porn, the grievances, the dopamine loops, the waiting for someone to notice your pain and validate it. Your pain is real, so is everyone's. Maturity begins the moment you stop merchandising your suffering and start converting it into competence. A boy demands the world adjust to his feelings. A man adjusts his capacities to meet the world's demands. Choose. Wake up. Open your eyes to the architecture of unreality that surrounds you, the redefined words. the inverted values, the slogans masquerading as ethics. See how safety means submission, how inclusion means exclusion of truth, how compassion has become a weapon. But do not stop at seeing the trap in the culture. See the trap in yourself. Notice when you flinch at a woman's tease, when you reach for institutional protection instead of internal resilience, when you confuse hurt feelings with moral injury. That moment of automatic reactivity is where your growth was arrested. Notice it, name it, walk through it. Sponsored book, Cultural Enrichment, Empathy or Weakness. If you've ever been called privileged while working 60-hour weeks to fund some bureaucrat's gender studies degree, if you've watched sons get drugged into compliance by feminist educators, if you're tired of being the villain in a story where you're the one getting robbed, stop reading. Put this down. Go binge Netflix's latest man-hating documentary instead. Still here? Good. What follows is 300 pages of unvarnished biological truth, financial autopsy reports, and battle plans against the genocracy. We'll dissect how 73% of male suicides post-divorce get buried as toxic masculinity statistics. You'll learn why 90% of workplace deaths happen to men feminists ignore. I'll show you receipts proving 40% of domestic violence victims are male data the CDC tried to memory hole. This isn't self-help, this is societal chemotherapy. We're excising the Marxist feminist tumors that turned marriage into alimony slavery, schools into estrogen factories, and governments into surrogate husbands funded by your labor. The chapters ahead will arm you with everything from fighting false rape accusations to boycotting OnlyFans simp economy. To the ollie males clutching their pronoun pins, run. This book will melt your virtue signaling face off like the Ark of the Covenant. But to the construction worker getting drained by child support for kids he never sees, to the engineer labeled creepy for approaching women, to the teenager getting Adderall doped into beta submission, welcome home. Your liberation starts on page 1. The system wants you weak, confused, and begging for scraps of approval. I'm here to remind you that lions don't negotiate with hyenas. Let's hunt. Cultural Enrichment, Empathy or Weakness, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.